In that case, we're going to be starting the lessons now. The first thing we're going to be going over is the thing that you're currently in. This is the ESF, which means Empire Specific Fighter. It is the basic fighter for each faction, and every faction has one. Our one is the Mosquito. Does there anybody here who has difficulty in the basic piloting of the Mosquito? And by that I mean has trouble getting it up, down, and side to side and navigating to a location. There's absolutely no problem.
Trouble, yeah.
Some trouble? Okay. Is there anything of the basic controls you would like me to cover?
Left your channel.
Not really. I just need to get. I've been practicing, but it's still difficult for me.
Alright, sounds good. Well, I'll cover over some of the basic controls, just so we're all sure. Spacebar, that's your VTOL, causes it to go up and down. Connor, you keep cutting in with a hot mic there, just letting you know.
Sorry about that. My chat and my pan is also the same button.
Nice. Alright, W is your acceleration, S is deaccelerate, A is turn left, D is turn right, both C and control cause you to go down to the ground. If you're having trouble landing, you can actually, if you're going straight down, it doesn't matter what speed you hit the ground, so long as you're hitting level ground, you can land fine. So if anybody who's having trouble can see Tick's Mosquito right now, I'm hovering above you all. I can actually, from my position right now, slam down into the ground as hard as I want, and it's not going to do a damn thing. It's a very nice change that they made back in beta. You can hit the ground as hard as you can, and that should help you if you're having trouble landing. You can just hover into space and slam into the ground as hard as you want to.
Do you have to be at full stop to hover and do that, or?
You don't have to be at full stop, but if you have too much forward momentum, you're going to slide, and that will cause you to explode.
Can I get an invite, Albie?
No, it's closed.
Closed?
Sorry, we already started.
It's 6:30. Okie doke.
Sorry, we just had too many people, and it filled up just before 6:30, so we decided to start it right at 6:30.
You didn't say
we will be running
outfit or anything though, so.
I was posted on the forums.
I know, I was on waiting.
It's over. Move along.
It's gonna be. It's gonna
We'll
happen
be
again.
running additional ones throughout the week at different times. No worries. Alright, so now that we've gone over that, we're going to go over the basic certs for Mosquito, since this seems to be one of the things that I tend to get a lot of questions about. In fact, this is what I get more questions about than anything else. We're just going to go over the basics. So the first thing is your armament of the Mosquito. With an air-to-air Mosquito, the best thing that you can have on an air-to-air Mosquito is both air-to-air missiles and the rotary. The rotary will be your main killing device. Your air-to-air missiles are excellent for both suppressive fire and scaring off other BSFs, as well as killing libs. The basic gun for the Mosquito, damn, I can't even remember the name of it, the Needler.
Needler.
Yeah, the Needler has its uses, and it's not terrible, but it's also one of the first things you want to get rid of on your Mosquito. If you want to run an air-to-ground Mosquito, which is not typically what we do in Air Squad, the Banshee is an excellent air-to-ground support. It's great against infantry, but not against anything else, and the rocket pods, if you can hit with them, are excellent suppressive fire on infantry and can kill tanks if you're very accurate. As far as the weapons go for the ESF, are there any questions?
I would like to comment on that. Even if you use Hellfires, the rotary is far better choice. Even if you want to set up an air-to-ground attack thing, keeping the rotary and just putting Hellfires is the best choice. I have both weapons, and it's way more versatile.
Can I make a note on the Hellfires? When you aim with them, there's a little square box. You need to line the bottom of the square box up with it, not the center.
Yeah, that's a bit of a bug that's going on right now. The square box is actually tuned to approximately 300 meters, so the center of the square box will be at 300 meters, but if you're firing at any target closer than that, you need to aim at the bottom of the square box. no idea why they set it up that way, because we typically fire at targets closer than that, but that's a good thing. Thank you for bringing that up. Moving on to the next section of certifications on the ESF. Again, I want to try and keep this as brief as possible, but is the utility slot. Currently, with the utility slot, the decoy flares are considered a fair necessity, especially for any air-to-air fighting. It negates a missile with all the points spent to do it once every 25 seconds, or with only 1 point in it once every 40 seconds. The other things are considered situational, but still nice. So we're just going to leave it at that. Flares are probably your best choice. As far as your defense slot, and I'm just going to keep skipping through and I'll get questions at the end. Composite armor used to be your go-to thing, but it's been nerfed extremely badly. So unless you're air-to-ground and specializing in low stuff, composite armor is something you want to skip, and you'll get a lot more of putting 30 certs into 1 point of vehicle stealth than you will anything else in the defense. You can sneak right up against the back of an enemy ESF, and the mosquito's very quiet, and then open up on them before they even know you're there. As far as the airframes go, they're typically one of the last things you want to upgrade for your ESF, because although they do make a difference, the difference is fairly marginal until you're able to fly at the kind of level that you will push the ESF. The general consensus at the moment, and bear in mind this may change with patches, is that the hover never really has a purpose, because we shouldn't be hovering and using that sort of flight style, or you'll get torn up by AA. The dogfighting airframe is certainly useful for some pilots, and other pilots prefer the racer airframe, and I'll go into why after this. Certifications typically should be spent, like your primary thing you want to spend certifications on before anything else is acquisition timer, because it doesn't matter how pimped out your Mossy is, if you can't pull it, it's useless. I recommend, if you plan on running with Air Squad, 3/4 of the way into the acquisition timer, get acquisition timer 8 or 7 as a minimum. If you're extremely good, you can go with lower than that, but I highly suggest, I mean, I'm not the best pilot in the world, but I know how to control a Mossy, and I suggest 8 for myself. So the more points you put in the acquisition timer, the better. The next thing would be getting your air-to-air and your rotary, and getting the ammo upgraded on that, because that will assist you way more than anything else. Because again, like I said with the acquisition timer, if you're not in the air, you're useless. Well, if you run out of ammo, you're also useless. So that's the other thing that I suggest getting. And then flares, then the 1 point in stealth, and don't even worry about airframes for the moment. And that's my opinion on that. Do I have any questions on the certifications for the ESF?
Are you going to post these notes somewhere?
Yes.
For you say about setting into the Tomcats, what? Sorry, excuse me. For the weapon utility, what's best? Speed, lock on range, or lock on time? What would you recommend there?
Honestly, none of them are going to help you significantly, so it becomes a matter of personal preference. My personal favorite is lock on time, but again, none of them are going to make an incredible difference, so it's a personal preference choice. Any other questions on certifications? Alright, excellent.
I got something, one sec here.
Go
Phoenix,
ahead,
are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I was looking at the certifications and for some reason my ship disappeared, so I'm just gonna go get another one.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, mine's gone too, so.
Yeah, I stood outside of mine too long as well. It's all good, just grab one and head back.
If their cert timer's up to scratch.
Exactly. There's another reason you need certification timer. User error, like I just did. Okay, so now that that's done and over, we have the certs out of the way, we're going to move into basic maneuvers. Basic maneuvers is going to be just that. It's going to be fairly basic, so some of you who know this, you're just going to have to sit through a couple minutes of me going on about the basic maneuvers again of the ESF. Just give me 1 second here.
Can I ask a real simple question?
Certainly.
Okay. Mine will actually does the thing not actually touch down? It just hovers when I get to ground level, and I have to hit escape.
Are you holding S?
No. If you're not holding anything and you hit nothing but C or control, it should slam into the ground. There are cases in which the ESF slightly kind of hovers above the ground because they gave it the Scythe's landing physics, we'll say. So there are some errors with it, but you should still be able to land.
Okay, mine just always hovers. I can never get it to actually land until I go in, like I hit escape and go into my class's screen.
Are you holding S?
I'm not holding anything.
That must be a bug on your part. I would submit a bug report about that, because if you're not holding anything and the only thing you're touching is C or control, then it should slam right into the ground.
Okay.
Well, do you use the standard buttons, or do you have some kind of alternate configuration?
Yeah, I use the standard buttons.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I would submit a bug report on that, because that shouldn't be functioning like that.
He's right. Pressing S makes me lift off.
Yep, it's the way I always lift off. Alright, so going into basic maneuvers, and actually, let's go into basic flight. So the first thing I want to teach you guys, because this is one of the things that a lot of people run into when they're first learning to pilot a Mosquito, is getting flipped in the warp gate. So when you're flipped in the warp gate, the most surefire way of unflipping a Mossy is to hit W to go forward on the ground while hitting C, which is your anti-vertical lift, your go down button. Since your bottom is facing the top, it's going to make you go up, and then you're going to pitch down once you gain a little bit of air. That's all you have to do, and in every single case this will flip you over in Mosquito. There's no time that won't flip you over. So again, it's W to go forward, C or control for your anti-vertical thrust, and then pitch down as you start getting air. Yeah, I would not flip here, because you will explode. Now, the other part of the basic controls that I wanted to go over is sensitivity. This one here can be a bit of a personal preference, however, with Mosquito, you want to try and find a most sensitivity that's in between. I can turn around as quickly as I can, and I have accurate shots at a distance. Because if you turn up your most sensitivity, and I've seen a lot of pilots do this to ungodly levels, thinking that they can pull off crazy maneuvers, they then lose the ability to hit a target that's more than 300 meters away. And you basically make yourself useless. Sure, you can flip around all cool and all fast, but if you're unable to hit anything with it, then it's not doing you much good. So you kind of want to try and find a balance between that, instead of just cranking it all the way up. And that's
There
pretty
is
much... Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say there is a setting to change just your flight sensitivity in the options before you go doing it on your mouse or something like that.
Very good point. I should have mentioned that. Thank you, Elwie.
Can I say something real quick?
Certainly.
Also, if you can keybind pitch up and pitch down, so you don't have to worry about having to slam pitch up or pitch down with the real high sensitivity, because you can press like W. Well, you wouldn't want to use W, but you could use W and you'll be automatically turning as fast as you can.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you want to get into it a little bit more complicated, you can rebind certain things to fit how you want it to be. Like, for example, I've rebound my eject key, so it's across my keyboard. That way I don't hit eject by accident, which is something I actually should bring up in the next lesson.
A clear key is U. I use U.
U is definitely a good key for it, because ejecting by accident is a terrible feeling.
I use O.
I find that
oops.
I use U because if you hold WASD with your 3 middle fingers and you bend your 2 left fingers, your thumb pretty much comes to U.
Alright, so now that we're done with what I consider to be the fairly basic and somewhat boring stuff, but hopefully informative for some people. We're going to get into maneuvers. Again, a lot of this is lecture, but we're going to try and get into the practical of some of this. So the first part about maneuvers lessons is that you should always be sure that you can make your shot before you fire. This is true with any form of combat. For example, if I'm tailing behind an enemy scythe and he has not noticed me, I shouldn't be at 600 meters and start spraying him and let him know that I'm coming up behind him. Or I should not be starting to lock on him with my AA missiles. I want to get as close as I possibly can to make a reliable shot. As close as I... Ramming me, Rio. As close as I possibly can to make a reliable shot before I open up fire. And on that note, you should always be trying on any unsuspecting target to open up with your rotary first, not your air-to-air missiles, because air-to-air missiles will give them time to react. Whereas with rotary, if they have no idea you're there, you can reduce their health by half before they have any time to react.
How are you judging distance to the enemy?
That's just going to take experience. Over time, you'll eventually learn how far you are away from enemies.
Same with shooting your normal rifle, you learn how much the dip is.
Exactly. Just depending on how it's just one of those things that you need experience for. But basically, if you're going around and you're practicing, fire at some stationary targets and you'll be able to tell at what distance you're able to reliably hit with the rotary, and that's the distance you want to engage the enemy ESF, assuming they don't notice you. Speaking about using air-to-air missiles and not using them first, air-to-air missiles are not your killing tool. So many noob ESF pilots use air-to-air missiles to kill, and that's not how they're supposed to be used, and at least that's not how they're currently used. Air-to-air missiles are a deterrent, and they're used for finishing off a flying ESF or finishing off a dangerous lib from a distance. This is just assuming you're not working with a squad and you're using air-to-air missiles. Again, you should not be using them to kill targets. If the target's fleeing away and you can't hit them with your rotary, use it then. But your DPS, as far as downing the enemy ESF will go, you're better off just sticking straight with the rotary if you can make your shots. Now, if you're coming up against two ESFs and you want one to run away, fire your air-to-air at one of them and then use the rotary on the other one while that guy's running. They will, although they do half the damage of an ESF, they cause ESF pilots to freak out. It's the freak out that you want. That lock-on time, though, reduces their DPS significantly, plus getting better with your rotary is going to make you a killing force. Alright, do I have any questions about the air-to-air missiles and the use of air-to-air missiles?
No, can I just say something on the rotary?
Certainly.
I started off just firing just constant rounds into something. I found that if you fire in bursts, you are so much more effective, like being on the ground yet again.
I disagree. I think with the rotary's high rate of fire and very fast unloading of the magazine, if you could line up the sights and hold the button down, you can unload all of it at once.
Heck yeah.
And I would never not unload your magazine, because even if you do have the missiles and you don't want to use them, you could unload, flip to the missiles, start beeping them, and that scares them into flying, and then switch back and use your missiles or your guns again.